Good morning, New Life. My name is Stacy McLaren, and I have the privilege of serving on staff at New Life as an Adult Ministries Associate and the Communications Associate. This morning, it is my honor to bring our devotion to you out of the book of 1 John. We're going to be in chapter 4. Yesterday, Pastor Greg brought the devotion out of verses 1 through 3, speaking of false spirits and spirits against Christ. And this morning we're going to look at what it means to have the Spirit of Christ in us. And so we're going to be looking at 1 John chapter 4, verses 4 through 6. I'm going to read through two versions, two translations of this. The first one is going to be ESV, and the second one is going to be the Message. So if you'll join me, ESV. Little children, you are from God and have overcome them. For he who is in you is greater than he who is in the world. They are from the world, therefore they speak from the world, and the world listens to them. We are from God. Whoever knows God listens to us. Whoever is not from God does not listen to us. By this we know the spirit of truth and the spirit of error. And then in the Message it says, My dear children, you come from God and belong to God. You have already won a big victory over those false teachers, for the spirit in you is far stronger than anything in the world. These people belong to the Christ-denying world. They talk the world's language, and the world eats it up. But we come from God and belong to God. Anyone who knows God understands us and listens to us. The person who has nothing to do with God will, of course, not listen to us. This is another test for telling the spirit of truth from the spirit of deception. So there's a lot there in that passage. But what I want to focus on is verse 4. The Spirit of God is greater. The one who is in us is greater than the one who is in the world. And that's the Spirit of Christ, the Spirit of God. What a powerful truth that is, especially in our world today. As Pastor Greg spoke of yesterday, there's a lot of false prophets, a lot of false teachers, and I feel like we're going to see a lot more of that we already have. We've already seen a lot of false teachings, a lot of just untruths being spoken into our world, into our society, with the coronavirus, and now with all of the racial injustices and the tension that is in that. There's just a lot of false teachers that are going to be rising up. And because we have the Spirit of Christ in us, we definitely have the ability to test those spirits, to see what is true. Now, going back to what is going on today and the Spirit in us being greater than the Spirit is in the world. If you are like me, and I'm sure many of you are, high on that empathy scale, you might be going a little crazy right now. Your empathy might feel like it is on a sugar overload and is getting ready to crash flat on its face because you're feeling people's pain and you're walking with people's pain. And so many days it feels as though, as we watch the events unfold around us, it feels daunting. It feels overwhelming. It feels like there's no way out. There's no solution. How are we ever going to get past this? How are we ever going to find a cure for coronavirus or find a vaccine? How are we ever going to get through this racial tension that has been many, many decades here in this country? It can seem as though the enemy has won. But the important thing is that the enemy hasn't won. And we need to recognize that. We need to recognize that the Spirit in us is greater and has overcome everything in the world. Jesus has overcome all of the darkness, and he left his Spirit here with and in us, not far away, not removed, but in us. And we can rely on that as truth. And you ask, how? Pastor Greg, can I know that? How, Pastor John, can I know that? The more you get to know him, the more you know his truth. The more you get to know him, the more you understand that greater is he that is in us than he that is in the world. The more you get to know him and the more you understand he is the spirit inside you, the more you understand that we are the light of this world. We are called to bring the light of his spirit, the light of his truth to the world, to a world who actually, without that light, will succumb to the overwhelming belief that there is nothing good that will come from this. There's a beauty in that. There is a real beauty in that truth, that the spirit who is in us is greater than the spirit that is in the world. And don't get me wrong, Satan is probably loving this right now. He can put out all sorts of false teachings, even in our Christian society, in our Christian beliefs. He could put out that false spirit of my opinion is right, and therefore I'm going to listen to my opinion. You're going to listen to your opinion, and that is a false teaching for sure. But again, we go back to knowing God, knowing his spirit, reading his word, getting to know him every single day, and we will know and we will understand that the spirit that lives in us is greater than the spirit is in the world. And that spirit has already overcome. And so I hope that as we go through today, as we go through tomorrow, as we go through the weeks ahead, that we will each be to each other that iron sharpening iron, that we will each test those spirits that we see, that we will each, when we fall back on our own opinions and believing that those are the truths that we should follow, that we would run to God's word, that we would run to those who are in our lives that can speak truth into us, that can call us to a higher place. And so I pray that for all of us. I pray that for New Life. I pray that for Christians throughout the world. I pray that we will be the light that shows greater is the spirit that lives in us than the spirit that is in the world. New Life, I hope you have a fantastic day. I hope that this week is filled with tremendous blessings. Remember, be kind to one another, and we will see you, hopefully, many of you, face to face next Sunday. And this week we'll see you online at 9 and 11. Blessings to you.